As you can see on your screen, we're working in version 22.19.2. This is the most current version of Church Windows to date. If you're seeing something different than that, a little bit of an older version, some of your screens might vary a little bit as we go through how to build these reports, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. You can always head out to our website or contact us and let us know if you need to get updated, and we'll do our best to help you get on the most current version. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up membership here first. Now, first thing we're going to go over is how to build a directory. I know this is a really popular thing, a lot of questions that we get about how to build a church directory. A lot of people like to do it a couple times a year, once a year, whether it's a pictorial directory or just a standard directory that has names and contact information. It's very easy to do in Church Windows to get just a basic directory, but it can become more complex if you wish to customize your directory. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to pick who appears on your directory, and then we're going to talk about how to use one of our templates. We have a lot of pre-made templates here in the program that you can pick from as a starting point, or you can just use our template as your default layout for your directory. A lot of people do that. But you can also take that template and you can customize it. You can add specific fields that you want to appear in your directory when you go to print it. You can add photos. You can also add your church logo. Lots and lots of options. So you can really make this as complex and as customized if you wish to go that route. Or you can go with one of our basic templates and get out still a very nice directory with your basic information. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about with a directory is you have to have your families or your individuals in membership set up properly so they appear correctly when you go to run your directory. All right. So let's open up people here, and I just want to point out a couple things. All right, the first record that opens, as you can see on your screen, it's for Miss Nina. Now, there are two very important fields that Church Windows reporting looks at when running a directory. First one is right here. It is this Include on Directory checkbox. If you want someone to show up when you choose directory as your reporting option, you need to have this box checked. So right now, Nina, her Include on Directory box is not checked. So that tells me that she's not going to show up on the directory unless I check it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check that. Now she's going to show, but there's another piece of information I have to fill out for Nina that's equally as important. It's the field right below it. It says Directory Report Order. Okay, so this field has 5 options. These are preset within the Church Windows program. You have primary, secondary, child with family, secondary, primary separately, and individual separately. Okay, since Nina is the only person in this household, she needs the primary option for her to show up correctly on the directory. Every household needs to have a primary person. Even if it's just one person or it's a family of 7, you have to have someone that has that primary option. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose primary here for Miss Nina, and I'm going to save it. So now Nina is going to show up when we run our directory. Okay, now this is a single person. Let's go to a family here that has a couple people. I'm looking for the Barnards. Here they are. So this is the Barnard family. As you see here down the bottom left-hand corner, there are 4 people that make up this family, husband, wife, 2 kids. Okay, so if we look at Evan's record first over here on the right, we see that he is set to be included on the directory. He's a primary. If we go down to Nikki, his spouse, she's set to be included. She's a secondary. And then we look at their 2 kids, Stuart and Eric. They have a directory report order of 3, child with family. And they both have a 3. That's how you want to have kids set up. Okay. Now, the other 2 options, this individual primary separately, this would be, for example, if you have a couple that have different last names, say you have a Brown and a Smith, they live in the same household, they keep or have separate last names, you would give one of them a 1 and one of them a 4. That way, when you were to go run their directory, they would show up in the B's with the Browns, and they would also show down in the S's with the Smiths. Okay, That's how you would utilize 4. Number 5 would be if you have, say, an adult child who's still in this family, but you want to see them separately when you go to run the directory, you go with a number 5. Or if there's an elderly parent that's living at home with their children, they want to be looked at as an individual when you run the directory, that'd be another great example of when you would give someone a 5. Okay? All right. I know I spent a little time on that, but that's an important part of running a directory that really needs to be handled properly. All right, so let's get into the good stuff here. Let's go run the directory. So I'm going to click here on reports. You can also go up here at the top, reports and labels, and then reports directory export. Regardless of which line you go to, it's going to take you to the same place, right? It's going to take you to step 1. There are 2 steps in the reporting feature here in membership. Step 1 is going to be where you build your query, or you put in your criteria of who you're wanting to see on your report. Step 1 is not going to handle the layout. We will do that on step 2. Step 1 is just the who you want to see, okay? Now, when you run a directory, by default, it's only going to pull those people who have that include on directory checked. You do not need to reiterate that criteria here on step 1, okay? If you want to change who's included, so right now if we look next to step 1, it's telling us it's including members and visitors. If you want to exclude visitors, or if you have a specific criteria that you're wanting to use when you run your directory, say you only want to see people who have a status code of active, for example, you would hit this button next to number 1 that says Edit People Selection Criteria. This is going to pull up this screen where it allows you to uncheck visitors or add any other type of membership criteria you need for who you want to see on your report. Okay? For example, that status code option. If you're only wanting to see active people show up on your directory, you could go down here to status code, select that membership field, and then you could check which ones you want. So if you only check active member and you add it to the selection, when you go to run your directory, you're only going to get people who have that status code of 1 or active member that are set to be included on the directory. Okay? So that's how you specify who you want to see. If you just want to see everybody that has that include on directory checked, regardless of any other criteria they might have, don't put anything in here on step 1. Okay. Also over here, members or visitors, you set that, whether who you want to see or who you don't. Inactive people, typically you don't want to see inactive people on a directory. We'll leave that unchecked. Same with membership groups in these donation fields. We don't need those checked. Okay. Now let's talk about giving pledging. Typically when you run a directory, you don't need to put any giving or pledging criteria in. If you decide that you do though, there are some instances where you might need to pull people who gave to a certain account or in a specific time frame. You would go in here to number 3 to do that. For today's example, we're keeping it basic. We just want those people that are set to show on the directory. Another important field up here or tab is your sort tab. Always check your sort tab before you hit the next button. This is where you decide what order your report is going to print out in. Typically for a directory, you want to go with alphabetical order. So we're going to leave that as is, and I'm going to hit next. And then our step 2 is going to load. Now that we've picked who we want to see, we're now on step 2 where we can finally build that report to show the information that we want to see. Okay. Here on step 2, I'm going to choose the option of directory. Right below that, I have a little drop box. If I hit the down arrow, it's going to show me down here all of these templates. Anything with a template that you see in the front is a report that Church Windows has built that you can use. You can use it as the template format or you can customize it. Okay, so for today's example, I'm actually going to use what I see most people using these days, and we're going to edit that one. So we're going to go with a 2-column directory with cell and email. This is the one I'm going to show you how to build. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And as soon as you select that box, you're going to get a little message. It's going to say, this template contains labels for cell phone. Please edit the report and drag membership field beside those labels to choose your cell phone field. Okay. So this is, again, most popular report, but you have to do some editing to it before you can run this specific one. Not all of them are like this. You can go with just a simple report that gives name, address, home, phone. That's another template that's available. So I'm going to say OK to this message now that I know what I need to do. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit edit. Okay. The report designer is going to open. Please don't let this screen overwhelm you. I know there's a lot to it, but this is just what flexibility Church Windows gives you to do as much customizing or as little customizing as you want. Okay. So as you can see, first line, we're going to have their last name, first name, and secondary's first name. We're going to have names of kids, their address, primary phone, any alternate address information they might have will go here. And then we get to the good stuff. We get to the cells and the emails. This is what most people like to see these days on a directory. As you can see, email has its field set up, but cell phone is lacking. It's missing these two fields over here. That's what that message was telling you that needed to be filled in. Okay. So I'm going to go over here to the right, and I'm going to grab this membership field. This is the field that we have to drag over and drop to the left. That's going to actually print what the cell phone number is. Okay. So let me explain. These fields here with the little people, these are called personalized labels. These are the fields that are going to say Bob's cell, Sally's cell. Bob's email, Sally's email. The fields next to it, these are the fields that are actually going to print what the cell phone number is and what the email is. Okay. So we need to fill in those cell phone fields. I'm going to go over to the right. I'm going to grab a membership field. I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to drop it here. As soon as I drop it, this pick a membership field is going to pop up. I have to tell it what information I want to see in this specific membership field. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of options, but I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find my cell phone field. I'm going to say OK, and here it's going to pop in. All right. Back over to the right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm grabbing another membership field and I'm dropping it back over here on the left. Cell phone's already selected and I'm going to pick OK. So now I have the two membership fields added that are going to display to me what the cell phones are. Down here on the right next to cell, if you see here it says cell phone for selected individual. I need to change this field because I want line 2 to print for the spouse or partner. I'm going to choose spouse, partner of individual here in my family member box. So now my field has changed. First line's for the selected person or the primary, second line's for the spouse, partner. Okay. Now I need to change my personalized labels as well. I want to make sure when it prints that family member's name, it's printing the spouse, partner. Same thing down here where it says omit if selected field is empty. I need to tell it if Sally doesn't have a cell phone, I don't want to see the text Sally's cell print followed by nothing. So I'm going to tell it if Sally, for example, doesn't have a cell phone, I want to omit that field. And that's done here in this omit if selected field is empty. I'm going to go down to cell phone for spouse, partner of individual. So I'm going to omit that box if they don't have a cell phone. Same thing's done up here for my selected individual. Omit if selected field is empty. If they don't have a cell phone, I don't want to see the text Bob's cell print followed by a blank box. I don't need it. I'm going to hide it, so I'm going to choose cell phone for selected here. Okay. Now, I know time. We're coming up on 20 minutes here very fast. I apologize. We are going to go over today. Feel free. You can leave at any time, but if you want to stay for the whole thing, please feel free to do so. Just know that we're going to go a little bit over. All right, so I have my fields entered in here. This is that basic template. At this point, we could save the report and it would print as is, showing cell phones and emails. But I want to show you just for a minute how else you can customize. If you grab this field and drag it down, you're going to make more room for additional fields. So if you want to add a photo, if you want to add birthdays, if you want to add ages, things like that, that all can be done using this membership field option. So if I click and drop it, this is just going to be an example. It's going to show me all of the different fields I can add and customize to my directory. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do it. But say you want to add a photo under the family section, you can go down here and choose picture. Make it a pictorial directory. You can also come down here back under individual where we pick cell phone. There's also a picture option down here as well. So you could go in and you could create An individualized picture directory of, say, your finance committee. You change committees every couple of years. You can run a pictorial directory so people know who's who or who to look out for at church. And there are so many other fields you can choose: baptism date, birthday, what have you. You can really, really jump in and customize this as if you want to. But you would use that membership field option. Okay. All right, I'm going to shrink this back up. Again, how much space you leave here, that's how much space is going to print between your families when you go to run your directory. You can have this space as big or as little as you wish. I'm going to come up here and hit Save As, and I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to type out the name of my church, 514 directory, and I'm going to save it. Once it's saved, I'm going to close out. Back here on step 2, you now have your template that you have customized saved here in this list for you to use again in the future. Say you run them quarterly. All you have to do at this point is pick the directory that you've previously made on step 2 and hit print. Okay. You also have some reporting options over here. It is up to you. You can uppercase the last name. You can include additional family members. If you've linked kids to more than one household, if their parents have split, you can check that box and the kids will show up in both places. This is an option to include individual pictures if there's no family photo, if you're doing a pictorial directory. If you want to see the year on the birth date or just for kids, options. Grouping and page break options as well. Say my church growing up used church windows to run a directory, and they had it in a nice little binder, and they had letter dividers for each section, so you could quickly tab to say the H's if you wanted to. So you could do an alphabetic page break if that's something you wish to do for organizing. Also unlisted options. By default, unlisted phone numbers, emails, and addresses are not going to show, but if you wish to see those, you have the option to override that. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit print here, and we are going to be able to view our directory. So here is a quick example of how to go in and customize that directory and have it set up here. This is just sample data, folks. It's not real people. So some of the phone numbers might look a little crazy and along with the emails. But that's how simple it is to really run and customize a directory. Okay. All right, let's touch on custom real quick. Again, if you need to leave, that's fine. I know I'm running over today. Let's talk about custom. So I'm going to go back into reports. I'm not going to change anything on here. I'm going to leave it on members and visitors, and I'm going to hit next. I want to point out the difference between custom and directory here on step 2. Directory, again, only looks at those people that are set to be included on the directory. Custom, right above it, is going to include everyone. Okay? Keep that in mind. Directory is going to only look at people who have include on directory set to yes, meaning they have that box checked. It's going to automatically group your people by families. Custom is going to look at everybody. Just depends on how you want your information pulled out of the program. If I hit new here to make a new report, it's going to open up with a completely blank report, okay, because I hit new. This is where you can really go to town and make the report look exactly how you want. All done here. Here are all your controls over here on the right. Customizing options are endless here. Okay, that's the custom report option. All right, last thing we're going to talk about today is going to be the directory export. This is a great tool to use if you want to take those people who are set to be included on your directory, export them out. Say LifeTouch came out, took a bunch of photos. Now they need your data because LifeTouch is going to build you a directory. Say you need to export your data out to send it to some other software or to send it to someone who wants to manipulate that data in Excel, for example. Directory export is a great way to go to have people automatically grouped by family and just look at those people who are set to be included on the directory itself. Okay, I'm going to choose directory export here, and right below that I'm going to hit new. I'm going to put in a name of what I want my export to be. Again, I'm going to use my church name, 514 export for Rachel. Okay. Again, you can call it whatever you like. I'm just using that today for an example. I'm going to say OK. It's going to take me to a completely different screen than you would see if you were building a report in Church Window, or if you were building a directory, excuse me. It's going to take you to this column selector. All right, so this is where you actually go in field by field and you pick what information you want exported out of Church Windows. Okay. On the left, you have available columns. These are all of the fields that we have available in Church Windows, whether they're default fields that Church Windows put in for you or whether they're fields that you have created over the years using our software. They're going to be available for you on the left to pick from to export. Okay. Over on the right, under visible columns, these are going to be the fields you are selecting to export or to be visible on your export when you pull the data out of Church Windows. Okay. So by default, you're going to have last name, preferred name, kids' names, all of your address information along with your phone number, and alternate address information. You may have work phone. This is just the default. You can get rid of fields if you don't want them. Say I don't need to see work phone. If I select it, I hit this left facing arrow, I'm moving it off to the left, taking it off of my export. Okay. Same thing back here on the left. I want to see cell phone exported. So I'm going to highlight it, move it to the right. It jumps now, as you can see, on the right side, and it's going to be part of my fields that are going to be pulled out of the software. Okay, let's do email too. So I bumped email over as well. All right, now these are the fields I want exported. Also pay attention to this individuals column. You can decide for certain fields what information is going to be pulled out. Do you want to pull cell phone and email out for everybody in the family? So right now it's set to all. Or you can set it for just kids. You can set it for just the adults. And you can also tell it that, like this option, that it defaults to. If the selected person, the primary and the secondary, both have the same email, we want to combine it. We don't need to see that email pulled out twice. Okay? Options for you here. I'm going to leave it as is, though. I'm going to come down to the bottom right, and I'm going to say OK. Now that report is going to be set up with those columns that I've selected here in my Dropbox for me indefinitely that I can reuse. Over here on the right, we have export options. First box, this is going to tell me where my export's going to save. I'm actually presenting from my personal machine here for you guys today, so I'm going to just choose my desktop. So I want it on my desktop. Below that where it says delimiter, I want to view this file in Excel. If that's what you're looking for, I would go with the delimiter of comma. It opens up really nicely in Excel. Now, some companies that you might be pulling this data out might say they want a tab delimited file. If that's the case, select tab. Pretty straightforward. It's either going to be a tab or a comma delimited option. Okay. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to hit export. It's going to start building that report for me. All right, it tells me it's been created, where it saved it. Do I want to open that folder? I'll say yes. So it's showing me my desktop. Here's my 514 export for Rachel. I'm going to just double click it, and it's going to put that data right into Excel for me with everything that I said I wanted. So those visible columns that we selected, those are all here across the top. All right, guys. 5 minutes past. Thanks for hanging with me. I really wanted to take my time, though, and explain the reporting features as clearly as I could because it really is powerful. I know it can look a little overwhelming if you just pop it open without having any background. But again, you can really, really do so much within our reports, especially with running a directory and customizing it the way you want to, along with exporting that data out, or you can do a custom option and you can completely build a report that exactly fits what you need.